The streets of New York City is being swarmed by a bunch of mutants. So I guess just Tuesday, then. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem released this past Wednesday in 2023 and is directed by Jeff Rowe, who is also known for writing The Mitchells vs. the Machines. And this film has an all-star voice cast of Micah Abbey, Shaman Brown Jr., Hannibal Buress, Rose Byrne, Nicholas Cantu, John Chana, Jackie Chan, Ice Cube, Natasha Demetriou, Post Malone, Brady Noon, Seth Rogen, Paul Rudd, and Maya Rudolph. A canister containing mutant ooze gets swept into the sewer, and 4 baby turtles and 1 gigantic rat stumble across it, get contaminated, and turn into living, breathing mutants. And 15 years later, the rat, also known as Splinter, has kept these 4 turtles contained in the sewers, trying to hide them from the outside world. But these 15-year-olds are aching to break out and to visit New York City and all of the humans, and as they do, they stumble across a plot from other mutants who are trying to take over the world. So if any of you have watched any of the versions of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I've watched a couple of them. Definitely the 80s cartoon was my jam when I was growing up. That was like my first big thing that I was obsessed with. That was my first big show that I had to watch every single day, no matter what. And as the movies came out, I was obsessed with those, and as more versions of the TV shows came out, I was intrigued by them. I still didn't meet my love of the original 80s cartoon, but I do enjoy this lore, and I do enjoy these characters of Ninja Turtles, so hearing that they were making a new Ninja Turtles movie when it was all animated, I was super excited. And the animation style here is very reminiscent of the recent Spider-Verse films, Into the Spider-Verse a couple of years ago, and then Across the Spider-Verse that came out earlier this year. It's not the exact same animation style, but you can definitely see the inspiration, where we're not getting the standard renderings in animation that we have gotten over the last 20, 30 years. We're getting something new and getting something very cool and very artistic when it comes to CGI, and I freaking love it. It's probably the best thing about this movie is the animation style. But one aspect that I loved about the characters presented in here is that these kids, Leonardo, Michelangelo, Donatello, Raphael, they're actually portrayed as teenagers. They're voiced by children. This is the first time I believe this has ever happened where they actually present the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as teenagers. In the 90s films, those were grown-ass adults. In animatronic puppetry suits, those were grown adults. The Michael Bay films that came out, or Michael Bay produced those movies, but those movies came out, those were adults. These turtles in this movie are teenagers, and I love it. And that causes this film to be about a lot of teenage angst, and there's a lot of humor, there's a lot of comedy, there's a lot of immature comedy that happens in here, and that's what teenagers are. That's what teenagers do. That's how you grow up. That's how you learn. So to finally see that in a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, it made me very happy. Like, finally, yes. It definitely presents this film more towards the kid aspect. As an adult, I wasn't really attached to this film in terms of like the messages here, mainly because I've seen this message before in other turtle films. Splinter doesn't want the turtles to go up and be seen because the world's going to be cruel, and then they're like, yeah, I know, but gosh, I'm just sick of the sewer. So they go up and they meet a couple of people who are jerks, but then they also meet a couple of other people like April O'Neil, who's really cool, and they're like, hey, humans are not all that bad. If you've watched any of the versions of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles over the last 30 years, you have seen this film before. There's a little bit more applied into this story where we include all of the mutants. So actor Stockman has been doing a whole bunch of experiments, and a bunch of these experiments grow up to also be kind of like the Ninja Turtles, where they're also adult mutants. Led by the very terrifying, this guy is very scary, Superfly, voiced by Ice Cube. He's probably the most noticeable voice in here. So one of the big pieces of marketing of this film is that in the trailer, they flashed all of the major names who were voicing everyone. They had John Cena, they had Seth Rogen, they had Paul Rudd in here. The only voice that I recognized in here was Ice Cube. And that's saying a lot because I'm a huge John Cena fan. I've been watching wrestling all of my life, and I know he played Rocksteady, but I couldn't really tell that it was him. It's a great ploy by marketing to try to get people into the seats by showing everyone who is involved, but in terms of like the actual performances, this could have been voiced by anyone and it would have been the exact same thing. The animation style in here is great, which leads to a couple of big fight scenes that we get between the turtles and the mutants, and then a whole bunch of like other crime people in alleyways and in factories. But it isn't very action heavy. Like I've said before, this is a teenage angst film. This is a coming of age film. It's just sad that this story I've seen multiple times before, not just in other turtle films, but just in general in other teenage angst movies previously in the last couple of years. Hell, even just going back to the beginning of teenage angst films, I have seen this story play out before. In the end, Mutant Mayhem, I think it's a beautiful film to look at. In terms of the story though, it's nothing to write home about. It's nothing unique, it's nothing groundbreaking, and it doesn't need to be that, I know, but in terms of like my ranking for it, it drops a couple of points just because this was predictable and I don't know, I've just seen it before. I'm definitely excited though to see other chapters in this new mythology that we have with these turtles. I would love to see these carry on when they do eventually become adults, and I would love to get Shredder in there, and I would love to get Krang in there and see their rendition in this beautiful animated world in this film. Just up until then, this is it's a nice start, right? There's the key word there, nice. It's not great, it's not grandiose, it's just, yeah, nice. This is good. I'm gonna give Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem 3.5 out of 5 Blu-rays.
I am above average.
So guys, if you've seen Mutant Mayhem, what did you think about it? What is your ranking of all of the feature-length turtle films that have come out over, gosh, would it be 30 years now? Whatever you thought, comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell. See you all the next time I'm releasing my next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time on the channel, but in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.